Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's show where we are going to be talking about the investment gap. Now, I'm going to try and explore where, we're going to look at opportunities today and where the biggest opportunities exist when that demand kind of outruns the supply. And that's when we're going to talk about these things like the investment gap and the factors affecting that. Now, when we talk about the investment gap, I'm not meaning a shortage of money. I'm talking about possibly a shortage of confidence. Capital is always available, but uncertainty is, it's the delay in decision in that. So, things like housing demand, which is a really important thing for us to discuss, remains very high across the board. Infrastructure struggles to keep up the pace with the growing demands, and governments continually challenge with their policies and things that they implement. And particularly, I think recently, like the move towards this net zero and things, that's has quite a big impact and quite a lot of reshaping for investment, especially property investment, which we talk about quite a lot. So today we're going to look at where these gaps exist, why they matter, and possibly where opportunities within all that can emerge. So I think we spoke quite a lot in recent shows about how opportunities arise when everybody else panics and things change and people start to exit the market or sell up and do things out of fear and haste, whereas really you should step back, probably take a calm approach and look at it as an opportunity to further yourself in your investment journey. Would you agree with that, Jim?
Yeah, it's interesting to say that the investment gap's not a shortage of money, but it's a shortage of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued about that.
Okay.
Definitely for a lot of people, there is. When you talk about shortage of confidence,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, there probably is an investment gap, and it's an investment probably in themselves. I think that's what that possibly means. We'll talk about understanding what that is in a minute.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And I always say, I could show easily how somebody could be a millionaire working their job. But it really comes down to, do you have the belief in yourself at the fact that you can do it? I'm amazed at how many people don't get it. It's just so simple to do over a period of time and compounding wealth without even trying, really. It's just disciplining yourself to do it. And it really does come down, because it's a math. When you think about it, Richard, it's a mathematical formula that you could put it in. What I explain. So if the mathematical formula actually works, then the only thing it wouldn't work, which is the variable in the equation, is the person, you. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, there's a lot. You see quite a lot of, doubt, and there isn't a lot of confidence and self-belief in oneself by a lot of people, and that's ultimately the thing that holds them back.
What's the investment gap then?
Yeah, so let's understand this. So we talk about this investment gap. As I said, the investment gap appears when demand is, outweighing the supply in any sector, and we see this across the board. Housing, infrastructure, skilled labour, and renewable energy and things as well as the new thing that's quite.
Housing's a classic example, isn't it? Because you've got all these skills and resources that they need in order to build houses, and because they don't have them, they can't supply as much. And therefore, if they can't supply as much, then guess what happens? More people will chase fewer houses again.
Yeah.
And then prices just continue to go up. And I suppose it's the same with rentals as well. Exactly the same thing. If you have less ability, we should probably give the current government a lesson in this. Maybe tag them in it and say, look, maybe you should listen to this now and again. Because if you then continue to have shortage of supply and rental stock, guess what? Price starts to go up. You can't stop it. And they talk about rental controls, but you can't stop it. Because what will happen is you put rent controls in place, you put an amount that people can increase their rent by, and they'll just go for the maximum every single time.
Yeah.
So you either say you're not getting anything at all, and then that's what happens with that, is then people got investment properties, they then go, right, that's it, I'm selling up. And then they scare them out of the market. And that's why 70,000 single unit landlords have left the market in Scotland since 2019. 70,000 single unit. That's the ones you want. Because if a few of them will go, oh, I'm going to sell up, you've still got 69,998, haven't you?
Yeah.
Available for rent still. Whereas if you've got if you've got a few bigger landlords and say they've maybe got 1,000 units, then you're down by 1,000 people displaced because of a draconian policy and not understanding the housing market. I think that's the most important thing. The academics, we'll have to call them in government, don't understand the commercial reality of the supply and demand and the housing market and how it works and the dynamics overall about what affects everything else and how it all interlinks.
Yeah, and like you're saying about these academics are making these changes and they think it's just a simple policy change, but the knock-on effect it has, and it's these single unit landlords and probably accidental landlords who just have one, possibly two, that has the most profound effect on financially, and they just walk away, and that's how we've lost considerably a lot of them. I don't
kind of, I was going to say I don't blame them, but I do for not fully understanding even when it's presented to them, like say it till you're blue in the face to someone, and they'll still, and then they'll just walk away and not understand, don't understand what's happening. It's so I understand why they're thinking like that, because if you are academic background, which is one of the criticisms of accountants, I am an accountant as well. A lot of accountants actually just think like numbers and equations and all the rest of it, but they don't take into account actually the reality of actually what happens on the ground. So 1 + 1, we all know mathematically equals 2. But 1 + 1 can be 3 as well after 9 months. Can't it?
Yeah.
When baby comes along.
It's called compound.
So when you look at the academic, when you look at that in reality, it's like, it's 1 + 1. Oh yeah, equals 2. Well, give it 9 months. It could equal 3. It maybe even equal 4 because they've got twins. But it's true. But that is to me is a great analogy of actually the difference between what you think's going to happen and what actually does happen. Because for everything that happens, life gets in the way.
Yeah, and I think nothing's always as it seems or as you think it's going to be. Things change, life, and like you say, life gets in the way.
And this is what causes this investment gap, the understanding between what we think is going to happen and what actually happens in reality. And you're right. The key points are demand continues to outpace supply. Investment slows when confidence falls, and long-term needs don't disappear because market changes. Housing markets are driven primarily on need.
Yeah.
It's not anything to do with, I just want a house. It's like you have a reason for having a house. It's a need to be fulfilled. If you're sitting in a 1-bedroom flat and you've suddenly got 2 kids on the way because you end up finding that you've got twins, it's like, oh my God, I am immediately going to have to. So it's driven by you have to do it, circumstances, rather than anything. So it's circumstances that drive the housing market overall. People move because of circumstances. They don't just move because they think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we're right in saying then opportunity often exists where others see uncertainty.
Yeah.
And when you see uncertainty happening, COVID, classic example, as soon as COVID happened, I'm like, okay, there's got to be an opportunity here. And there was a number of opportunities that appeared as a result of it.
A few good opportunities that you've picked up on.
Investment in housing and new stock to buy. People want to exit the market because they didn't want to deal with it anymore. People then decided it's like, I need a bigger house. I want a garden instead of having a place with no garden or minimal garden or a shared garden. So I want a garden for our own because we want it for the family, we want it for the pets, we want it for our own peace and enjoyment. And that's where that opportunity exists when these things happen. So whatever happens, there's always an opportunity in it, whether it's good or bad. There's always some opportunity to be had out of that situation. Just the way of the world.
Yeah, COVID's a really good example of that, and we've seen the benefit. I mean, here in Fife, in terms of there's like this exodus from the cities, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and things. And Fife was such a good area because of the proximity and things as well. And we just seen it just exploded here.
Housing has to be the biggest gap.
It is. We're not just saying that because it's what we do and it's what sector we work in. It really is, because the UK still needs more houses than it's building. That's the UK as a whole, not just Scotland, England, the entire country.
I actually think they've not got enough resources now to build enough houses this year, because of planning restrictions, because of net zero requirements, and because of labour restrictions as well. The fact that they've not got enough people skilled enough to build the houses that they need. So it had nothing really to do with the desire to build more houses. It had everything to do with the restrictions of the resources around them in order to build these houses. Who did not think of doing like a critical path analysis about how this works? We want to build 25,000 houses this year. What sequence do we need to overcome at each step when we work it back from 25,000 completed houses? What sequences do we need to overcome, and when do we need to overcome them in order to get 25,000 houses at the end of the year? That's what they should have been thinking about, not just the desire to go, I tell you what, we're going to build another, I don't know, was it 1 million houses they said, or something like that, or 10 million?
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was. The UK government said some crazy number, and I thought, and everybody just laughed. No chance. The Scottish government says want to build another 100,000 houses over the next 10 years. They're not even near it. They've not even been near that in the last 5 years, almost 10 years even. Yeah, but they've now secretly said, but the 100,000 was actually the houses that we want to build included in. It wasn't additional. Hey, wait a minute. I could take you back to the press release when you actually stood up and said, this is additional to what we're doing. And all of a sudden, it's no longer additional and nobody wants to talk about it because it's embarrassing for them. Yeah. And it's the same with the Labour government. It's them. They stood up and said, we're going to build X amount of houses more. I think it was 1 million in the 5 years. And it's like, and everybody just went, you're having a laugh. You can't even build the 250,000 you need already. So where are you going to get the resources for that? So the UK still needs more homes than it's building, definitely. Planning delays, rising construction costs, labour shortages, definitely, and the finance all slow delivery. Meanwhile, demand continues to grow. You can't tell someone to stop having children, can you? No,
and that's what we said earlier about, like, just because markets are changing and there's things happening within the market doesn't change the circumstances that people are in, and that demand will still develop no matter what the market's like.
For investors, definitely, the focus should really be primarily on quality, buying quality property in areas with lasting demand, not simply chasing shortages.
Yeah,
I mean, if somebody's got a shortage in an area, well, we all know what's going to happen. You chase that shortage, and then what happens is they go and build houses in that area to overcome that shortage. So you're looking for places that require people maybe on a subcontract basis. So they'll only be there temporarily, maybe 1 or 2 years on contracts, and therefore your investment property will fulfill their needs. Student lets, classic example as well. Maybe students in a student area where they're not necessarily building all these different huge amounts of properties as a university. But the universities have kind of caught on to this now, and they've started to build. They've started to get private developers in to build en masse student accommodation. Now, I've seen them. They've been going around for years, and somebody have obviously pitched it to me at one point in time. This is a great market to invest in. I'm like, yeah, maybe it is. But I certainly wouldn't want to do it and build halls of residence in a private market, and then the university decides, I tell you what, we'll build more for ourselves. Because then you can't adapt that to anything else other than HMO, and you've not got any other market other than the university. And if they take that market by building themselves, then your place is redundant now.
Yeah, because you're never going to compete with them if they decide to do that. Yeah.
It reminds me of things like the shopping centres. You know, the big shopping centres that everybody built in town centres.
Yeah.
It's like they're almost derelict now, these places.
They're dying to death, yeah.
Because they're built out of town shopping centres now instead of the in-town centres. And the high streets have been killed off as a result of that because the footfall's disappeared. So it's kind of the same sort of thing. It's you don't want to get caught out in a trend. You really want to capitalise, unless you've got a good exit, I would say. You want to capitalise on long-term investing, medium to long-term, definitely.
Yeah. I think from that, obviously, it's clear that housing supplies do remain limited. And I can assure you that definitely here in Scotland, and I know across the country, that rental demands are staying resilient. So, like you said, Jim, the quality locations matter more than ever. And, you know, the long-term fundamentals really drive that performance in these areas and things as well. So when we say housing shortages create opportunity, I think you hit it on the head there, Jim, when you say, but only for the really disciplined investors, for people that are knowledgeable and consistent, the people that are just here for quick turnarounds and the quick wins. It's not long-term disciplined investment.
If you're in a rental market for a quick win, you shouldn't be.
No,
definitely. If you're in for a quick win and you're doing flips, that might make sense. But I wouldn't be doing that for long-term renting. I definitely would be. I mean, you could combine two. You could actually do the flip, but you could actually flip it and sell it into your company.
Yeah,
that might be a really good idea, actually. So you develop it as a self-employed person. You obviously going to pay capital gains on that, but you then flip it into your company and get it valued at a higher value. But you sell it to your company and you make a gain as a result, and you get the lending on that, or you could put it in as a loan, and that's then been taxed already because of capital gains on yourself. It's a bit complex, and again, as I say, you should speak to a financial advisor about your own personal circumstances and how that could work. But that is an opportunity to do that, and I have done that in the past where I've bought. I've then looked at it, I've then refurbed, I've then flipped it immediately, and then I've put it on a mortgage and taken all the money out and literally created no money down deals.
Yeah.
And that was the opportunity existed at that time. Now you can't do back to back anymore because they don't allow that. That's not their terms anymore. They usually want a 6-month period in between. Mm-hmm. But then if that happened and you had the means, you could then buy low. You could refurbish over a 6-month period. Then you could sell it on, or then you could just remortgage it if you've already got in a limited company and you want to do it like that. It depends what works for you. If you want to take the capital gain, or if you just want to have your limited company and lock in the gain, so then you could borrow against it in future. I think that it depends what your circumstances are, and it depends if you want to create either a gain internally in your company to borrow against maybe higher lending in the future, 100% lending, and use that as security as the deposit,
and gives you that leverage,
like most high-profile investors do. Or it depends if you want to take the money now on the belief that, and I think it's you've got to think about really right now about maybe take the money now and take the gain now and pay the tax on the gain, because there's Andy Burnham wanting to come in. He thinks capital gains tax should be aligned with income tax. So therefore, your 24% for a high rate payer will be 40%.
Yeah.
So see how that would work. So you maybe want to take it now, or you want to lock it into your company, which will be 25%. But I believe what's going to happen in the future is they're going to put dividend tax up a bit more, even though they put it up twice. Mm-hmm. Recently by 2% and then 2% again. They'll come up with some other fandangled idea. Now they've got everybody into limited companies, especially for property investment. They've got a golden opportunity then, therefore, and it's always looked on at it's the rich that take dividends. It's always the rich that they say take dividends. That's the impression. It's not really, because most self-employed businesses run as limited companies and take dividends out as their pay. So it's always perceived as the rich are getting that, but they're really, because they know how many limited companies have been created and they know how much money has been generated out of that. They'll know how much is going to get taken out in dividends, because it is getting taken out already. They'll be able to work out if they increase dividends again, dividend tax by 2%, how much they're going to bring in.
Yeah.
So this is why they forced everybody into limited companies. It wasn't because of Section 24 and unfairness.
Yeah.
Section 24 was deliberately put in there to get you to buy everything in a limited company, because they can now track all your capital gains when you sell. Whereas before it was a bit more difficult in your personal name.
Yes, because in that way they could fairly accurately work out.
Well, as an individual, you could easily disappear into the ether and no one will probably find you. As a limited company, you can't, because you're trading as a limited company, and unless you're deliberately creating and doing fraud and evading VAT and everything like that, then you're going to get caught.
Yeah, because I mean, all your accounts and stuff is all there for public view.
Yeah, and that's why it legitimized a lot more people under limited companies and created an environment where they could track it easier. It would be a lot more easily. That's the difference here. I mean, when you come to housing, that's the brilliant thing for them, because they've got all these houses and limited companies now. They've got them all registered now. Everybody knows where they are now. They know where all the gains have been made, because they know what you bought it for, because that's all been tracked over all the years. They know what you're selling it for. That's been tracked over the years. So then they, at some point in time, they'll catch up with you, because they caught up with me on back-to-back transactions. And then I explained to them, and they went, "Oh, right, there's no tax due on that," because it was the way I'd done it. It's just that it made it look like I was gaining, but it was, in fact, I wasn't gaining anything at all. And when I explained that to them and showed them how that was done, they went, "Oh, that's fine, that's okay." But it took them best part of 8 years to find out that and come back to me. But it took them 8 years, and they still got me. Still wrote to me and says, "Wait a minute, in 2010, we think you did this, because it's on record." I went, "Yeah, you're right, but there's no tax due. And here's why." I went, "Oh, we never knew that." Okay.
As long as you can demonstrate,
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. So that's why they've done it, to track it and trace it. And coming back to housing shortages, they do create opportunity, but for really disciplined investors. When we talk about, is there a supply chain disconnect or something like that? And the way that housing, building homes and money and all the rest of it, and planning materials and skills, is there some sort of disconnect here that we talked about? I mean, we went over it a wee bit, but I think we should dig into that a bit more.
Yeah, just to come back to it, because we did touch on it, and building houses, and I think even the renovation of houses and things as well. There is a bit of supply chain disconnect, as you called it there, Jim, because we've got issues with planning, we've got the materials and costs of them. Skilled tradesmen, properly skilled tradesmen, are short. You know, utilities, the finance, they all need to work together. Do you know, it's not just all about the money for building a house or renovating a house. You need to have all these things in place, and they need to all work simultaneously. And do you know, you need to kind of have a streamlined process. And any delays in that process of building or renovations or things, it could really increase costs, and then, you know, confidence gets reduced within that chain, because there's breakdowns along the way. And you see it if you've not got the right people in place.
Look what happened to Lochie Homes along at St. Monad.
Yeah.
You know, when COVID was on, they had launched everything with COVID. Everybody had committed and agreed to the fixed prices. I warned them a wee bit. I says, "Look, you know, I wouldn't be putting fixed prices. I would maybe put in some sort of where you could move the price just in case anything happens." And they went, no, we're all right. We're comfortable with that. But then all of a sudden, they fixed all these prices and got all these concluded missives from all these buyers. And then all of a sudden, before they'd even built them, along came hyperinflation.
Yeah. Everything
overnight, like 12%. And materials almost doubled in price. Wood, timber, plasterboard, sheeting, plaster, everything, every single raw material you could think of, every single utility you could think of as well, they all went up inflationary wise, and they had nowhere to go with that. So basically what was happening is their margins were getting narrower and narrower and narrower as a result. And I wouldn't be surprised if they took a huge hit on that. And it was because of this, they had got caught out from that. So I think, and yet, primarily because of that delay you talked about, caused an increase in cost, and then it reduces confidence overall, and therefore the market starts to react as a result of it. Now, Buffett talked about it. The Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, talked about this. He said the first thing you should always do, and what happened in COVID is a huge amount, billions of money got injected into the system and got borrowed and injected in. Now, what happens, it's like a football. If you've got a football expanded to a certain way, right, and then suddenly you've got all that air in there, which is effectively money, just say the air is the money, and then all of a sudden you go, we're going to introduce more money into this equation, more air. So what do? What happens to the ball? It inflates. It gets bigger. So therefore, you've got more money in the supply. Therefore, and you've still got the same resources, remember. So at some point in time, you're going to push it to the point it bursts.
Yes,
and that's kind of what's happened, and that's what caused inflation. So he says the first thing you should do when you see a government borrowing in an economy is think what's going to happen next as a consequence of what they're doing. Whether it was right or wrong, what's going to happen next? And if you inject more money into a supply, therefore, what happens is the price of goods and services go up because you're not injecting more goods and services. You're creating more money to do that.
Yeah, you're just printing more money and putting it in. Yeah.
This is why I was a wee bit critical about the Scottish Government's first-time buyers fund, about you can have up to 10,000 loan towards you buying your first house again. And I'm like, all you're doing is injecting more money into that system for house purchase. What do you think the first-time buyer's going to do? It's like, well, the 125 you were going to pay for the house is probably now going to come 135 or 130. So the house, the bottom market's going to go up as a result of injecting money into that bottom bit. I mean, you're saying it's about getting them on the housing ladder. A lot of houses in the periphery areas around Scotland are actually affordable.
Yeah. But then they were putting that extra money in right now.
Yeah. They think about first-time buyers in Glasgow, first-time buyers in Edinburgh, and Lothians, and Perth. That's how they get their data. And all the main cities, are astronomical. But you go outside of these city areas, it's like, they're all affordable. Into the wee periphery villages in some of these places. I mean, look at Scotland overall. Scotland's got an average house price of about 190,000. Yeah. Now, the average salary is around 35,000 now, so 190 divided by 35. So 190 divided by 35,000. Is 5.42. Now, 6 times multiplier still means a healthy market as opposed to the average salary. This is 5.42. So this is an even better, healthier market. So it's still affordable to buy because that's the average price somebody will pay. And that is what a home mover, an upgrader will pay up to as a result. It's not a first-time buyer. It's an average for a reason because the first-time buyers will be well below that in the bottom bit. The mid-market ones will be in the average, and the ones that are obviously got the bigger houses and the country mansions, they'll be at the top. And that's why it's an average.
250 and above. Yeah.
So first-time buyers are not supposed to be the ones paying 190 grand for a property, but because that's the average price in Scotland, what does that tell you? 50% of the stock is below that value. So it's affordable for a first-time buyer to buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't expect first-time buyers to be paying 190 grand for their first property. That's
I know some are paying 350, no bother.
I've seen them. I don't know how. Aye.
But that's the way, and that's what I mean. So it's almost become a cliche now, and almost become entrenched in our culture that suddenly first-time buyers can't afford a house, and it's like, yeah, they can. I can show you loads of houses that they can afford. You just need to go to Glenrothes and you get a 3-bedroom mid-terrace property for what, 120 grand?
Yeah, easier.
I was selling 2-bedroom mid-terrace properties in Elgin Drive in Glenrothes before the credit crunch for £90,000. Do you know what you get a two bedroom at mid terraced there again for 20 years on? 95,000 to £100,000.
About 100 grand, yeah.
They have
no
never
change
moved up in 20 years. Has anybody moaned about the fact that these prices have never moved up in 20 years? No. Everybody's, the government's moaned about the fact that they're unaffordable. How could they be unaffordable? They've been sitting there for 20 years and never really appreciated in value.
Yeah.
And they're really good houses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right across the country. That's not just unique to there. So this,
other areas like that.
This misconception or this myth that every first-time buyer can't afford the house is completely wrong. So all they're doing by injecting more money is pushing the prices up for first-time buyers again. Fantastic. And even worse, what I believe is that money goes against the equity. If you do your house up, then you're paying a tax, because then when you do your house up, they've got a percentage of your value, and therefore when you sell your house, you're actually taking some of that value you paid to do up.
It's the same percent. It's the same percentage of the new value. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What? I've paid 20 grand doing my house up, and I've got to pay 10% of that to you when I sell it. It's like it's my 20 grand I put in, so I've got to pay 2 grand more because I did it up.
Yeah,
I thought that's what you wanted us to do. Be aspirational. Be, want to improve ourselves. No, we want to tax you, really, but we didn't tell you.
But then a lot of people won't think. But I was going to say a lot of people won't think about that. I remember looking at that at the time, and the first thing I thought, wait a minute, but when I resell, I'm going to have to pay you the percentage of the new price. But a lot of people won't think like that.
Because I have somebody that spent £40,000 doing the property up when they had a first-time buyer loan, and it was against the house like that in an equity share. And when they sold it, the government took a percentage of the improvement that they had made as well to the property. And when I brought that up with the housing minister, he said, "Well, everybody was told that, and it's just that's what it was."
Was it really made that clear? I don't think so.
Well, it wasn't. They said, "Oh, you were meant to pay off your loan first before you actually did your house up." I mean, would you really?
No.
You probably would if you were told and it was made clear to you that's what would be the case.
Yeah, but it's not the thing you instinctively probably do to start with.
So not really fair, I would say. But this is what causes the problem about this disconnect about what's happening. So they don't understand that the labour shortages remain the challenge. The build costs unpredictable in that situation. Delays reduce profitability. Inflation reduces profitability. Skill shortage reduces it as well. Strong delivery teams become a competitive advantage. And money funds projects and people deliver them. But that money borrowed at the beginning, if it has delays, costs you even more money. Because you've still got to pay your investment. It's like, for example, when you've got a house empty and you're no renting it, or you're trying to do it up, it's like every month it goes by, you're losing money. And like, but how am I losing money? Well, you're losing the rent that you would have had doing it quicker if you'd got somebody in to do it. Can we explain that one? It's like, you've got 6 months it takes you to do a property up. If you get a contractor in, they'll do it in 1 month for £3,000. Okay?
Yeah.
But if you do it yourself, I'll do it over the next 6 months. Okay, but your property is going to be empty for another 6 months, and you've got a rent of £800 a month. So therefore, that's £4,800. Okay, and then you're going to put it on to rent it. So there's going to be another month at least there as well. So you're going to be over £5,000. But you're also going to be in council tax zone, possibly, maybe as well. I don't know which local authority you're with. So, and you're also paying utilities on top of that as well. So you're paying more than £5,000 to do it yourself. Okay, have you saved money?
No.
Because if you've got somebody in to do the work at £5,000, you would have had somebody in from almost after the first month. Therefore, you would have saved the differential, and you wouldn't have had the headache. What happens if the market takes a tumble then? Within 6 months? What happens if it changes? What happens if you do it in winter? It ends up, the 6 months hits you in winter, and people go, I don't really know what I move in winter. You get less people moving.
Market's quiet, yeah.
Wait even longer. What happens if there's a supply issue and there's more stock at that point in time? You get less rent as well. Does it not make sense then to actually say, let's get it done now so we can get it turned around, so we can get it filled, so we can get certainty in the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've found myself trying to have that conversation with quite a lot of people who don't realise the true cost of the time it's taken to turn things around, especially with rentals and buy-to-let investments and things. People do want to get involved and do stuff, but they just don't appreciate. You spend that little bit more on somebody to do it quicker, you could be earning a lot more money with that time.
Yeah, I think I as well. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not even taking into account the fact that if you're paying someone else to do it, you can go and work doing something else and actually earn more money as well at the same time. So that's another opportunity gain on top of what you've just done. So whatever you've lost over the 6-month period doing it yourself, over and above what you would have paid. So if say it would have cost $6,000 over the 6-month period, you've actually, saved. You've supposedly saved $6,000. It's like, well, you've not really, because you've saved the $5,000 because you did it yourself. You've lost that, but then you've got the utilities to go on top of that, which is another £1,000. And then you've got a month's rent you'll lose, which is another that as well. So you've maybe saved the $5,000, but you're down £1,500 at the end of it by waiting. But then you've also got, like what you said, in that 6-month period, if you've got the contractor to do it, you could have earned. So that £1,500 as well gets added on to what you could have earned in 6 months. And for some people, if they were doing a full-time job, what, £15,000? Yeah. So you've literally lost £16,000 because you tried to do it yourself. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Put it into that context. And that's what I mean about the mathematical equation, about the certainty of knowing if that's what you do, this is what you'll make, and this is how it will come out. That is certainty. Policy uncertainty is something that you definitely don't want. And investment thrives on stability.
Yeah. Yeah, investments do. I mean, if things remain stable, your investments would be very good. But obviously things change, and there's frequent changes to, obviously we spoke about planning and things as well, taxation. We've done a whole show just recently about rent controls, environmental standards, net zero, which we're going to go on to talk about a bit more before we finish up today. And these could all delay your investment decisions and your whole process. So, businesses, and when I talk about businesses, that could be your buy-to-let portfolio and things, they don't necessarily need to avoid investing. They simply need to just wait till when it's, they've got a wee bit greater certainty on what's happening and what they're doing.
This is one of the reasons why you have a lot of housing providers land banking.
Yeah, okay.
And they don't build on the land just now because they need more certainty around what is actually going to happen for planning, because you could see all the different things that could go wrong in this equation and cause a huge problem for them. Yeah,
that there's a lot of land around about smaller villages and towns and things, and it's earmarked for housing, but nothing happens for it could be years.
Yeah. They've got huge amounts of land banks, and they won't build on it because they've got that pinned down exactly what they're meant to be doing with it, because the local authority actually they do actually delay on their planning. And they actually demand other things as well, like, oh, well, we want a contribution for every single house built so we can build more infrastructure in the area. We want you to put social housing on this. We don't want you to put the 4 that you suggested. We want you to put 8.
Yeah.
Because we've changed their mind now. We want you to put more social housing there. And it's like, oh, right, okay, well, that throws a spanner in the works. You have to go back to the drawing board and actually start again. And then somebody has to draw it all up again and then submit it all again in order to get it passed. And then once they get that passed, it's like, okay, so when are we going to plan this? Because this is getting planned over there with that. This is getting planned over there and starting that time. And that's starting at that time. And we've only got a limited amount of resources. So we can't start this project now because of all the other ones we've got planned in the pipeline, or possibly all the other ones our competitors have got in the area planned in the pipeline as well, which could take and absorb our resources that we need.
Yeah.
Therefore, we could see a spike in the amount of money that we're needing to pay out for, for services to do all these jobs for tradesmen and that, and subcontractors. Look at a classic example. I think, was it 1 year a festival had to cancel because they didn't have enough portaloos?
Trying to think.
Remember that? Remember there was a year it happened, and it was because Glastonbury and I think something like the World Cup or the Olympics were going on at the same
A lack
time.
of supply, yeah.
Yeah, and some of the music festivals had to cancel because they didn't have enough Portaloos because they only had a limited amount.
No, like the Isle of Man or Isle of Wight or something.
It's something like that. It was the Olympics, I'm sure. I think it was at the time of the Olympics in London.
Yeah.
And Glastonbury were going at the same time that year, and that would cause an immense problem. And Wimbledon or something like that, and that would cause an immense problem for them to get Portaloos because there was only a finite amount of them. So therefore, they had to actually delay it or cancel it for that year, some of the music festivals, because of these points. But so see how that policy thing about the same thing about land banking, we can't all, and the government are a bit naive to think it, we're going to fine you if you don't build on that land and within a certain period of time. And it's like, but how, if we don't, if you've sent everybody back because of Brexit, who are we going to use?
Yeah, because there's a lack of skill.
All the people coming along in boats. But I'll tell you what, it's like what was it? Was it the Gangs of New York? Have you watched that? Where all the people were coming in off the boat and he was going, there's a gun, sign here, right, you're off to the war. As soon as they came off, and just put them all straight to work straight away to do something. And it's like, yeah, it's no politically correct for to say things like that, but yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
Sometimes it's reality, yeah.
And if you want your economy to thrive, it's like, and you've got no one else, it's like, let's get all these people trained up if that's the case. Oh, but we're encouraging all these people to come here. Well, if you hadn't had Brexit in the first place, we wouldn't have this problem. Yeah.
Yeah, Brexit has caused a lot of problems in that aspect.
So that's the policy uncertainty of the whole thing, and that's what causes all these things to happen. Businesses just want certainty, and just like investors want certainty as well. We like certainty, and we don't like uncertain times. We value consistency. Sudden policy changes, reduce confidence. Definitely, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what's happening now? You notice people do stop when something happens. Like what happened to the housing market when the Liz Truss budget came in and she was appointed as Prime Minister. It's like the housing market took a dip and people stopped buying. Yeah, and it's like, what's going on? And then the confidence in the money markets actually went, whoa, wait a minute, it's going to be higher to borrow money. And then the confidence in the stock market dropped as well. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute, your policies don't add up. And that's what causes economic uncertainty overall, and then has a knock-on effect to everything else. It's kind of like a virus going right through your computer system. Long-term planning requires stable regulation. It doesn't require people throwing grenades into the
constant changes and yeah.
I think I was watching Simon Pegg, the Undeclared War, about how, and it was a series, and some people probably have been watching it, about how GCHQ, so your government's like division, monitors who's trying to hack into all the systems and their defense systems and that, and they're tit for tat with Russia and all these different other nations, putting negative into social media and that, and all these bots generating discourse in your. So when people make a suggestion about all these immigrants come over here, it's terrible. That could be a bot for all you know. Because sometimes you click on it, and it's only like 3 friends. It's like, oh, there's a warning sign for you straight away. That has probably been created by another country to cause social discourse. And then what they do as well is that other people sitting in the same seats as them in the same office then come in as different people and go, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's terrible, isn't it? We should do something about these people. And they're causing social unrest in your economy. It is the biggest thing to cause problems. And then possibly that's why you get all these prime ministers changing. And it's not because the public in Britain are doing it. It's because it makes it look like we are. Yeah,
causing that disruption from outside,
It's the biggest way to undermine an economy, definitely. Confidence is the most valuable investment asset you'll ever have. It's consumer confidence for everything. That's how, look what happened when the credit crunch happened. It's confidence. Everybody rushed to the banks to take their money out. That was classic. The rush to the banks. We want our money out. All of a sudden, it all collapsed. And yet, if nobody had rushed to the banks and just gone, hey, sit tight, everybody would be fine. But they just couldn't do it all at once because of consumer confidence. And that's what caused all these problems.
People got scared with the whole Northern Rock thing and everything, and everybody just wanted their ash in their hand, basically, to feel like they were safe.
I was sitting in the room when the general manager of the Dunfermline Building Society took the call right across the table, and he just turned green. And it's like, what's wrong? I'm going to have to go. There's a run on the bank. And the next day they were gone. Just like that. So that was a bit of a surreal moment. That's kind of like, have you ever watched Wonderful Life with George and Wonderful Life, where he has well, what do you really need? Know what all your money is. What do you really need? You know how his Abbott or whatever his name was had he put all the negative into the system, and everybody ran to his building site and said, we want to take our money out. And he went, well, what do you really need? And folk would go, well, I only really need $10. Okay, there you go, and there you go. And he managed to survive because of that. And if we'd done that, we'd have been all right. We wouldn't be in this mess. We wouldn't have all this borrowing as a result. Yeah. It's our own stupidity that leads to this. And this is and funny, it would talk about stupidity, but we're going to talk about net zero and renewables.
I think it's as important to address net zero and renewables because it's got such a profound effect. And it's like you said, Jim, about when it comes to
no, really, when you can only influence 1% of the very most in the whole global nation.
I think what you said earlier, and I didn't want to go into it too much because I knew we were going to talk about it separately, but like you're talking about house building, and house builders are being held back because they're now having to compensate for extra cost to meet net zero. So net zero is actually holding back building housing, and housing is one of the most important things that we need to address, and net zero is holding it back. Anyway, I mean, it's just...
no one is disagreeing that we have to have some sort of movement towards energy standards, efficiency in your home in terms of the resources that you're using, your heating, your light, and your electricity, and your gas, and all these utilities and natural resources that we're using, even to build the houses. Nobody's disagreeing. But doing it all at once is a huge burden on the housing sector, but also our economy. It is killing us. And I'll tell you, do you think China's doing it?
Well, that's what I was going to say. We're pushing to be net zero for whatever day it is.
You think Baby Drill's doing it from America?
No.
Of course he's not.
Our footprint as a country in comparison to all these big players.
It's 1% at the very best in the whole world, and we do everything 100%. Now, you'll never get 100% out of an economy to do that. So we're never ever going to even do a 1%. And in any equation,
in the grand scheme,
negligible. That is not significant. So we are shooting ourselves in the foot by doing this. It should be transitioned in over a longer period of time, and given time to get over it. I mean,
changes, small changes at a time. Yeah.
They came to their senses with things like landlords and investment property and saying, well, we're going to force you to get to C, level C for EPC rating by this date. And it's like, and everybody's going, you've got no chance. Because a lot of these properties have no chance, and we're not taking that much money in and rent every month in order to make that happen. So this becomes economically unviable. Therefore, we'll be exiting the market en masse. Never mind everything else you've been doing. That would be even worse. But even that uncertainty has actually had a lot of people giving up. Because I've experienced it. You've experienced it.
Yeah.
Even that uncertainty in the net zero thing and investment properties, and the talk about every single house in Scotland is going to have a ground source heat or a range source heat pump. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, you know how much these cost? Yeah, you'll get a grant towards it, but it's still £8,000.
Yes,
with a grant. It's like, and they talk about £8,000 as if like, oh, that's nothing. It's like, what? £8,000 is a lot of money to go on just
to the vast majority of the population. Yeah,
to go on something that you've got already. Think about that. I've already got gas central heating, a condenser boiler, a combi condenser. And I've even got the hive. I've even got everything on my radiators. I've even got LED lighting. And I was like, how much is that going to save me every year in resources? Your £8,000 that you're paying, or maybe 12 if you've not got a grant, is going to save you, drum roll, £800 a year. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I miscalculated that. It's £200 a year. Oh, I'm going to pay £8,000 out to get £200, £200 a month or a year back. So
yeah.
sorry, £200 divided by £8,000. Really? What's that? 0.25% or something like that? That's crazy. Yeah, 2.5%. So you're going to get a 2.5% return. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just put my money in the bank now, and I'll get a better return.
More, yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's that naivety of, everybody's going to do this because this makes absolute sense. It's like, guess what? Life gets in the way, and I don't think anybody's got £8,000 just lying about. Very few. And even the very few have got £8,000 lying about are going to be the ones that are going to be taxed. So they're not going to have £8,000 lying about soon. So no one's going to be able to do it.
Yeah,
and that's the lunacy. And then you're going to have to manufacture all these air source heat pumps. Where are you going to manufacture them? Oh, we don't have a facility here. We're going to have to import them in. It's like, that's the worst thing you could ever do. Import stuff in from abroad. So then all your money is going out of the economy and going to someone else. That's again, they don't understand that. They don't understand the transition that they need to make in order for that to happen, Richard.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think this, like you say, this continual push for the transition to net zero on property investment and things is having a profound effect, because energy efficiency is becoming increasingly, important to lenders, people that want to lend for buy-to-let lending. Buyers are always looking at tenants now, or even like looking at the EPC rating of property. I remember when EPCs, a tenant didn't even know what it was. You had to explain to them what it was if it was in their park, and they're like, "What's this?" But now they know, and they want to know what the EPC rating is, because it has a knock-on effect on their utility bills and how much cost they're going to have to outlay to run the property. And especially when buy-to-let investors are buying older properties, they're going to require some amount of investment, whether there's grants or something involved, to improve the energy efficiency to try and get as close to that C rating as they can.
It's interesting, but if you really want a property, you're not going to bother whether it's an E or an F or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because if it's an E and it's going to a D, it's like, woohoo, I've saved £10 a month. Mm-hmm. That's effectively what it would be. 10, 20 quid a month. I've saved 240 quid a year, big deal. But I've not got the house I wanted now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really going to stop you from buying that house? Is that really going to stop you from renting that house as well?
Yeah.
In all honesty.
I mean, personally,
while people ask about it, while they insist it goes in the advert as well now for lettings, I've got to say that for buyers that are buying a property, it really doesn't matter to them, because it's like, okay, I'll be able to sort that out anyway, and I'll do that later. I just want the house, I want the location because of the schools. I'm not going to forfeit, to save 240 quid, or lose another 240 quid a year to not have the right school for my children, or not have the right back garden, or not have that garage, or it's like, it's just, and again, it comes down to somebody sitting in a room thinking mathematically, it's like, this makes absolute sense. People could save £240 a year. It's like, but it's going to cost them £8,000 to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, and even on a payback basis, 240 quid divided by £8,000, or £8,000 divided by £240. It will take you, drum roll, I think we could all work this out anyway in our head, but it's going to take you 32 years to get your money back on that.
That's
32 years. I might be dead by then, actually.
Yeah.
The heating system's not even going to last 32 years that you've just bought. The air source heat pump's not going to last 32 years. So the saving that you're making, you're going to end up having to pay for another one, and you're still paying it off.
You
still not got your money back on it. Mental, absolutely mental. So this is where it comes to then. You talk about energy standards continue to rise. Retrofit investment is clearly growing. And we're not capitalising it. That's where we should be capitalising it. I mean, there's buzzwords about, we're renewables and all the rest of it. Yeah, are we really? Because I don't believe we're actually doing enough that we should be doing. Aberdeen should be the renewable place of the future. And yet what's happened? It's just on its knees, wiped out the oil industry, and they've not really replaced it with anything. And yet they were supposed to replace it with the renewable capital of the whole world. Sustainability has become part of the property value in sense, but every major transition creates new investment opportunities overall. And it's finding that opportunity, and it's just what we spoke about the other now. If somebody needs air source heat pumps, then who in Britain is actually doing this?
Yeah, so there's exactly, and it's like it's having the knowledge to identify that opportunity in any situation. Like you're saying there, well, if they're outsourcing heat source pumps, then why does somebody here not start to make them?
Yeah,
and then
I mean, when the mandatory legislation came in Scotland, especially for interlinked for every single house, even an owner, for interlinked smoke alarms and heat alarms, I wonder who took advantage of that opportunity. I bet you a pound to a penny, it's probably an overseas company.
Yeah,
they actually make all these smoke alarms and heat detectors, and they basically sell it into us, and then we sell it on. A wholesaler sells it on to a retailer, and a retailer sells it to us. So there's a huge markup in between. It all disappears again outside the economy. Now, that was announced years and years before, so surely somebody should have set that all up in motion and thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to take advantage of that. I mean, these are all just things. I mean, somebody might correct them on these posts, but these are all things that opportunities definitely arise. I mean, how do we go about finding that opportunity? How is that all done, and where does it come from?
I think that the uncertainty that often then obviously reduces competition and things as well. So instead of like, if you're an investor and focus on headlines, what's in the headlines today will probably not matter in a year's time. But if you want to be successful in investment and things, you need to ask yourself what people are going to still need in the long term. Do you know, 10 years, 20 years, housing's right up there. I mean, housing's going to always be up there. Probably efficient buildings will be up there as well in 10 years' time. Growing communities. Do you know the strong rental demand? Do you know, is that still going to be there in 10 years' time? Of course it is.
Yeah. I know what's not going to be here in 10 years' time even more is high street retail premises.
Yes, I think that you could see that quite clearly.
I know what else is not going to be here in 10 years' time is less office blocks. They'll be, you know, I think the Scottish Government converted one recently, somewhere in Glasgow or something like that. I saw it in the news somewhere. They converted it, but I tell you what, they spent an absolute fortune doing it. They would better just starting again, in all honesty. But they spent a fortune doing it, converting this block. They must have got taxpayers' money to do it, because I'm sure it was a housing association or something like that. So we ultimately paid for that, for them to do it, and then just rent it at low-cost rent to everybody else. So we foot the bill irrespective of what happens. I mean, everybody goes on about housing associations, how great they are, and the councils and everything like that. But you've got to remember, it's still your taxpayers' money actually gets doing that. And that's okay, as long as you understand it's your tax that's paying for the lower rent. That's all.
Yeah.
If you paid me and gave me the funding, I would be doing lower rent as well for people and doing affordable rents. But I don't get that opportunity to get access to that. Therefore, that's what it is. The government just doesn't want one individual to be successful. They don't want people to have wealth. We've just got this. It might change in years to come. So people watching this in years to come might think, so that about.
Yeah.
But at this time, we live in a society at this point in time where it's almost frowned upon to have wealth. And it's quite alarming to have that like that, because as one previous prime minister says, you know, it's bordering on socialism, and socialism is great and everybody equal and everybody helping each else until the money runs out.
Yeah.
And then you've got a problem, because that's what it does. It just absorbs all the resources and everybody spreads them out equally, and there becomes no incentive for entrepreneurs to work any harder or do anything else other than just the sheer delight of being able to do that. You know, the good feeling they'll get from it. And entrepreneurs do that, don't get me wrong, but first they have to build an empire in order to be able to do that, and then they become great to everybody and start giving away all their wealth, because that's what they want. They love the journey, but they had to do what they had to do to get there first. but they also loved giving to the people that they want to give to. It's their money. It's not anybody else's obligation to take it off them and distribute it to other people that they find fit to do so. It's up to them who they want to give it to. And that's why you have these huge foundations. When people are nearing their end of their life, they like to create. The biggest philanthropist ever in Scotland was Andrew Carnegie, the American industrialist. But he was Scottish. And he created all these different places around the world. And at the time, in the 1930s, Carnegie was worth 300 million. Even 300 million today is an absolute fortune. In the 1930s, that's almost 100 years ago, 300 million. And you talk about Musk being the world's first trillionaire. Carnegie was really the world's first trillionaire. In comparison, that time, way beyond what Musk's wealth was. Because when you think about that, that is going to be an astronomical figure. You cover this now. I'm just want to check and see how much million is worth in today's money from 1930.
Right, you do that, and I'll run through. Well, we're talking about finding opportunities, and the key points in that are, like we just said, they invest for the long-term demand. These things like strong rent demand, housing, growing communities, things, all these fundamentals that are always going to be there and rarely change. Ignore those short-term noises and focus on, resilient locations that are prime for investment. And cash flow always remains essential. So, as I say, like the best investments solve the long-term problems, not the short-term trends and headlines that you hear. So, you got that figure? No.
Oh, it's something astronomical. All right, okay. 25 billion.
Right, okay.
Still, world's first billionaire, I suppose, in today's money. He was
still a lot. But
when you think about 25 billion, but when you think about then, if that's 300 million and it's taking 100 years, when the growth and all the rest of it, in terms of how it's calculated it, because AI did it all for me, and I suppose it's taking the factors into account that how much money is actually inflated over the years, So that's probably just applied inflation. But if you applied investment strategy to invest that 300 million at 10%, then probably it would have compounded to an astronomical amount. How much is 300 million in the 1930s worth today if compounded by 10% per annum? I think it's broken.
I was just going to say it might take a wee minute to get that.
3 trillion.
There you go. Compounding.
3 trillion.
The power of compounding.
So, and that wouldn't be difficult to do that 10% every single year when you think about over the last 100 years. Because I'm sure there'll be index funds that have probably done that at some point in time and grossed over that time. So technically, if he had done that, he probably would have been the world's first trillionaire if he had still been about.
I think as well, if you look at it proportionately, when you compare the amount of people that would be at that level of wealth in the 1930s compared to the amount of wealthy people now, it's a bit,
I know.
Puts them in a completely different league. Yeah.
Have we got anything else to say about finding opportunity, or have you covered all?
No. I wrapped that up. I was just going to do the closing thoughts.
So closing thoughts. Let's finish here because I was interested to find out that if Carnegie would have been today's trillionaire if he had compounded his wealth by 10% a year.
Yeah. So the investment gap, as we have explored today, is more than just the economic issues. It's the sign of where future demand already exists. So, housing shortages, supply chain pressures, policy uncertainty, and the move towards net zero all create challenges, but they also create opportunities for investors prepared to think for the long term. So markets will always change. Demand for good housing won't always be there.
We're on an island. We've got planning restrictions. We've got resource restrictions in terms of labour, in terms of resources, in terms of materials, and also in terms of finance as well. You see it because even the councils can't build because they've not got enough money to build. They can't borrow money from anywhere. That's just the way the councils work. So they've got that. So demand for housing won't change at all because we're always populating and we're bringing more people in. whether you like it or not, we've got an immigration policy, a proper immigration policy, and then you've also got the illegal immigration route as well. So we're just going to do that, and we're going to have to accept over the next 25 years that the African population will be the largest population in the world. 25% they'll make up of the population of the world, and it's because they know that already, because there's so many young people being born there. It's when they all grow up and they have children as well. That's why it'll go from about 19% to 25%. But it's about 19% just now,
which is close to about a quarter anyway.
It's a fifth of the world. Fifth of the world as it is almost. So it makes absolute sense that that's what's going to happen. So you'll have to embrace that, whether you like it or not. So all these people out there going, we don't want these people, and it's like, hey, you're going to have to live with it, because we're all going to die, and there'll be no skill left to do that. So we're going to have to need somebody to train. And if I've been watching loads and loads of podcasts and information, reading books and all the rest of it, and the Western population, in other words, aka the white nations, are all, their fertility is going down the toilet. And literally, they're having less and less children in comparison, and therefore we're basically seeing our way out. We're wiping ourselves out. Ultimately,
we're going to become the minority. Yeah,
that's what it is. We're just that's the way it is. So if you want, you'll have to have more kids if that's the case. But that's not happening, because of things like our culture and our diets. And it's causing as well fertility issues and younger men and younger women as well, because of plastics and everything, and it does have a huge effect on fertility. Therefore, we are going to have to work together with other nations, with other cultures, in order to sustain our economy.
Yeah, good. Right, we'll leave it there today. That was good, Jim. Thanks for all your input, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Any questions, jump in the comments box, reach out to me direct, and I will answer any questions you have. And until next time, Jim and I will see you on the next show.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Jim.